say to people, if you're not physically active and you eat a diet high in ultra processed foods and you got your phone in your room and you don't have great sleep hygiene, good luck with your mental health, because you friggin' well need it, because you are swimming upstream, right? What most people don't realize, a diet high in ultra processed foods, there was a systematic review and an umbrella review actually, that looked at all of the different studies that found that people in the highest amount of ultra processed food consumption had a 48% increased risk of anxiety versus those low, and had a 53% increased risk of common mental health disorders. And this was class 1 convincing evidence. Why is that not on every front page newspaper, right? So that's one thing. Then we take physical activity. If you're not highly physically active, you're depriving your brain, not just of endorphins, which everybody knows about, but serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, endocannabinoids, and enkephalins. There is 6 different neurotransmitter systems that are activated through physical activity that make your brain function better and improve your mood. And when people are not physically active, they deprive their brain of the neurotransmitters that it needs to function normally. And then you throw in sleep, and I mentioned earlier on, lack of sleep drives anxiety, depression, ADHD symptoms, all of those things, right? Dutch researchers showed in 2019 that if you interfere with REM sleep, you can cause anxiety in both animals and humans. Right. So there's so many lifestyle factors. And then, it's the busy life and all of the stress thrown into that. Like that is just mental health issues waiting to happen.
No wonder, male suicide is so high. It makes sense when you talk about, when you point out all of these different factors. And it's so difficult because once you're in the pattern of bad sleep, you're not going to want to eat as well. You're going to have no motivation to exercise, and it just
Yeah.
compounds in a negative cycle
It,
that you can't get out of. So
that's exactly right. I mean, Nick, what most people don't realize, after a poor night's sleep, ghrelin, your major hunger hormone, is higher. Stress hormones are higher the entire next day. And that combination of ghrelin and cortisol makes you crave sugary, fatty, and salty foods, the ultra processed foods that are available everywhere. What's lower the entire next day after a bad night's sleep is leptin. That is a powerful action on voluntary physical activity in the brain. That means that after a bad night's sleep, not only you're more likely to eat more and eat more shit, you're more likely to sit on your arse all day long. You're a lot less likely to exercise. Then you're less able to handle the stresses of the day's events, because exercise is the best stress buster there is. And then you're more likely to go home that night stressed and soothe your stress with either alcohol or shit food, which both interfere with your sleep that night. And then it's Groundhog Day. Right. And then with that chronic lack of physical activity, there are changes in the brain, and then that stress coming in, creating glutamate, killing off neurons, and impacting on neurotransmitter systems. And then you have the diet of ultra processed foods, destroying your gut microbiome and then impacting upon your brain. It is just a disaster for mental health. Modern lifestyle is a disaster for mental health.
it's shocking. So it's almost like saying, if you want to torture someone, just get them to live in the modern world without having any knowledge of what they should do to better themselves.
That's right. And that's why I wrote my first book, Death by Comfort, Why Modern Life is Killing Us and What We Need to Do About it.
Yeah.
Because it is like, you take any animal out of their natural environment, they do shit house. They really are shit house. And us humans have been taken out of our natural environment, right? And we know what the natural environment's like by studying hunter-gatherer tribes like the Hadza, who live in Tasmania and currently live hunter-gatherer lifestyles. And their gut microbiome is way more diverse than ours. They do 7 to 10 times the amount of vigorous physical activity as the average American or the average Australian or average Brit, right? And when you understand exercise biology and exercise neurobiology, you start to go, fucking hell, this is causative. Right?
We're not doing what
It's
we're built to do. Yeah.
we're not doing what we're built to do. We really aren't. And I'm not suggesting that everybody goes and becomes a hunter gatherer again, because clearly that's not the way ahead. But we can all choose what goes in our gob on a daily basis, right? And again, I'm not suggesting that you only eat like a hunter gatherer. We have the 80-20 rule in our house, where 80% of food that we eat has been alive recently. You can look at that and go, you've been alive recently and minimally interfered with by humans. We call it low HI diet. Whereas, if you're looking at a Krispy Kreme donut, you're going, I don't remember seeing you running around on four legs, right? So 80-20 rule around that.
Mm.
Everybody can choose what they do around their sleep, right? The worst thing you can do is to be sitting on your social media or to be watching a screen, getting a combination of blue light and cognitively stimulating activities that actually actively destroys your sleep. Having too much caffeine. There are people who can have a double espresso and go straight to sleep. But what we know is they spend a lot less time in deep sleep, right? And
Mm.
there are so many restorative biological processes that happen when you're asleep, that when you mess with sleep, you mess with your biology, right? And for the gentlemen who are listening to this, we know that 3 nights bad sleep and your balls shrink. I
Wow.
kid you not, measurable changes in the size of your nuts after 3 nights bad sleep, and your testosterone resembles that of someone that is 10 years older, right?
Oh my God. Well, that should be enough to
That's the
scare
one that
any.
most gentlemen go, oh, now you got my attention.
Exactly. Yep. That'll fucking get snap you into action. That's
Absolutely.
crazy. Yeah. And so all of that, it's unbelievable because that's like not even what you just talked about there, not even looking at the mindset side of
Yeah.
how overexposed to information we are.
Yeah.
We like our brain's not fucking built to take in this much stuff, and it is overwhelming. It's unavoidable, but we
Mm.
need measures in place. And I can't remember what psychologist I was listening to, but he was talking about the hunter-gatherer times and how you'd be out in a field and you're going about your daily activities. You're almost in sort of you're not thinking most of the time. You're in a flow
Yeah,
state, the majority
you're
of the time.
mindful. Absolutely. One of the
Yeah,
best
you're
things. Sorry to cut you off.
no, go.
One of the best things that depressed people can do shit with your hands. Do not sit around. Get a project, work with your hands, because when you're working with your hands, you're completely mindful and your brain isn't off. And you're not in your own head, right? That's a bad place
Absolutely.
to be for a lot of people, right? Whether it's anxiety or depression, get busy. Do stuff with your hands so that you're not spending time in your own head, because that's not a good place for most people unless you're a philosopher.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I found. Like I had to just be active. I got into acting. I got like doing a
Mm.
podcast. I love this kind of stuff because you can't think. We're in the moment. You don't have time to think about all the other stuff going on in the world. But we just don't have enough of that in day-to-day life. And I think all of us can easily fall into that pattern of just being in our head.